Welcome back to Real Phonies, where we take a love for movies and television and combine it with very little knowledge about movies and television. I'm your host, Christian. Join me and my co-host, Joseph.
Yellow.
And Jehu.
Wow.
Back after a couple weeks off to discuss HBOMax's two latest releases.
I know, it's a double feature day for our still unsponsored HBO Max promotion.
Well, probably after we talk about Earwig, they're not going to want to sponsor us.
We'll see how it goes.
Should we start with that one?
I definitely think we should start with that one.
So the first one we're going to discuss is Earwig and the Witch, Studio
Correct.
Ghibli's latest release.
It's their first CG effort.
CGI, yeah.
Yeah,
Wasn't great. Didn't look very good.
Directed by Goro Miyazaki, Hayao Miyazaki's son, who Hayao Miyazaki does not think is a good director, though his other work I think is pretty good. But yeah, it's their first CGI work. It's based on another children's novel from the same lady who wrote Howl's Moving Castle. It's about a young girl in an orphanage who's, I guess her actual name was Earwig. I feel like a lot of this movie played on a pun in another language I didn't get. But who gets adopted by, I guess, like a witch and a demon and has to do a bunch of dirty work is mostly what it is.
Yep, that's pretty much the plot of the movie.
Yeah.
And then it ends.
Okay, so, I of the three of us am the least familiar with the genre and the studio. So here's how I felt after watching it. While I was watching it, I was trying to figure out, okay, I know these guys do movies that are for kids and movies that aren't for kids, and movies that are straightforward and movies that are harder to crack. And this was obviously one for kids, but it was so vague at the end of it. Is like, is what this movie telling me that I'm dumber than the average Japanese child?
Well, you probably are dumber than the average Japanese child.
I know I'm dumber than almost any adult, but I felt I could take most children, but maybe not after. If Japanese children got this movie, then they're ahead of me.
Well, so I'll tell you something interesting, because I was interested in this after I watched this movie. And I think we all probably had a similar reaction to where it decided to end. This is actually how the book ends. There's no extra stuff.
Yeah. This movie is bad, guys. The ending, I think, is a perfect example of what's wrong through the rest of it, which is it doesn't feel complete. Like nothing about it feels complete. Yeah. I don't think it looks great. I didn't see an option to watch in Japanese, so I watched the English dub. That feels lacking. In the story, there's like no depth to it. Girl gets adopted. Girl's kind of treated as a slave. Girl's a birth mom shows up. That's the whole movie. I did not enjoy this one.
Yeah, look. So as the resident Ghibli expert, which I take a lot of pride in, I can say this is definitely not their best work. But you know what? It's 80 minutes long. It's fairly watchable. It just doesn't really amount to anything.
I mean, I was planning at the end of this to definitely give it shorter than Transformers.
It is shorter than Transformers.
Yeah.
I think, for a lot of the other movies, one of the appeals of the hand-drawn animation is it's really pretty to look at. And I don't even think it's just CG. I think it's specifically this CG animation does not look great.
No.
So, like, it's definitely not coasting on that. And yeah, as far as, like, narrative, like, it doesn't really do anything. Like, there's no hero's journey for our protagonist, I guess the Earwig in the Earwig and the Witch. And, I guess that's okay. You can have, like, the hero's journey, the development of the surrounding characters around her. But I feel like we just started the beginning of that, and then the movie ended.
This was something I wasn't even going to get into because this is kind of my final summation, but that seems like a good setup for it. What this movie felt like to me, and I enjoyed it, I guess, more than you guys did. I didn't think it was bad.
I also didn't think it's. I don't think it's terrible. It's definitely not good, but it's very. I think it's watchable.
I enjoyed watching it. I enjoyed the little girl. God knows I enjoy anything with a black cat in it. That's a sucker point for me. But this felt like there was a 4-hour DreamWorks movie that was about a witch who had to leave her child behind to battle an evil coven of witches. And then at the end goes back to fight the last one, who has her daughter. But it seems like they cut out a bunch of scenes to make it 2 hours. And this is all those deleted scenes stuck together.
You've just crafted a kick-ass movie in your head. I love that it's Kill Bill, but with witches, and the final boss has your daughter. That's phenomenal. Right. I love that so much.
That's a much better movie.
Yeah.
I did not enjoy this at all. I started it. I got about 10 minutes in. I turned it off. I hated it. And then last week, before we had the cat incident, I was like, well, I have to finish it. And so I sat down and finished it. I would have not done that had it not been for this podcast. I thought this was atrocious. Way worse than Transformers.
I mean, look, I also think it's worse than Transformers. I would probably rather watch it than like Only Yesterday, which I thought was just a painful, painful slog. I will say the one thing that bummed me out the most about this movie was how miserable it made Magic look. Like, it seems like whatever her face was could have been doing better if she just did like a data entry job down the street. It seemed like a lot less work and a lot less dirty.
It totally seemed like it would just be easier to get a job.
Yeah, 100%, right? Oh God, that made me so sad. It's like if I'm a kid and that's all that Magic is. Well, shit, that's not worth nothing.
I definitely would rather have Doctor Strange Magic, where you just make weird kung fu poses and then electric snakes appear or whatever.
Yeah. So I say all this. We can move on from this. I don't think there's a lot we have to say about it. But if you haven't watched a Studio Ghibli film, please, for the love of God, do not start with this one.
Or start with this one, just so your bar is set really low, and then go on to something better. Yeah. But I would say avoid this one altogether. But that takes us to Judas and the Black Messiah, right?
Yep.
This one about Chicago Black Panther leader Fred Hampton, who was killed by the FBI in his sleep, and the kind of inside man operation that led to his death. Who's in this movie? Lakeith Stanfield and Daniel Kaluuya.
Kaluuya, yeah. Dominique Fishback is Deborah Johnson, who's Fred Hampton's girlfriend. Jesse Plemons is Roy Mitchell.
Morally
FBI.
Questionable, of course.
Sure. Martin Sheen is J. Edgar Hoover, which is an interesting turn for Martin Sheen, or for Jed Bartlett.
Right.
And then just to complete the Get Out reunion, Lil Ray's in it just for cameo appearances, another FBI informant.
I like this movie a whole lot. I thought it was very good.
I think this movie is excellent. Yeah, this movie made me miss going to the movies more than anything I've seen in quite a while.
See, I enjoyed watching this movie a lot, but man, do I think it's a bad choice for us to talk about on this podcast.
For what specific reason?
Just what do we have to say about this? I don't know. It just seems like something that, I don't know. Am I going to say the acting was great, or am I going to say something about the filming of it? This is obviously a movie about the point, and I sort of feel like, as to the point, I should just shut up and listen to it.
I mean, it hasn't stopped us from doing other. We did the One Night in Miami, though. I guess you could argue that's a little less.
One Night in Miami is kind of dumb. You know what I'm saying?
I do know what you're saying.
It was good, but it was also kind of silly. This was not silly. I watched it in an afternoon, and man, this is not an afternoon viewing.
Yeah, I had a similar problem actually.
Yeah. But I mean, I want to be clear. I'm not in any way disrespecting this movie. I think it was a really good movie, definitely better than Transformers. I just don't know how much I got to think about it. If I interject in this, I may just interject with other news from this week. I feel like I'm qualified to talk about.
Just don't bring up Gina Carano. That's all I ask.
Okay, then I'll leave out Gina Carano because I definitely had things to say about her, but I won't.
No, I mean, I get you there. The point certainly is a poignant one, and one that we probably, as three white dudes, can't contribute much more on. But I would add that this movie, when you watch a movie and they're like people are like trapped in an elevator or something, and you feel claustrophobic. this movie made me feel that about being an undercover cop. That's got to be like the most mental straining job, just fear for your life, because it feels like either side is willing to kill you all the time. And I realized he wasn't a legitimate cop, but that's what I thought the whole time. I have a friend who's an undercover cop in Detroit, and God, that's got to be the worst, one of the worst jobs ever, because there's no safety or security in that. I thought Lakeith Stanfield really played the balance really, really well and made me feel it. When he was uncomfortable, I felt uncomfortable.
Right. As you well know, Lakeith Stanfield is my very favorite, so I think he was phenomenal in it. And even though it's less of a, I think we're supposed to be more, I don't know, I think engaged with, I don't know if that's the right word, engaged with Lakeith Stanfield's character, because he's the one that's kind of going through like, the internal struggle. And I feel like we're supposed to be struggling with him, I guess. But, Daniel Kaluuya is just like resolute the entire time and fucking kills it. Like I would follow that guy. I get it. He's got a lot of oomph to him.
Yeah, he brought a lot of like energy to the role. Like he definitely demanded your attention anytime he was on screen, which kind of seems true to who that guy was in real life.
Yeah. One of the things I did want to mention about this movie, because it's the drum I'll beat every time we watch one of these movies, is I feel weird about doing real life stories with some parts that are real and some parts that are fictional. One of the things that I think is important, that's a distinction between the actual story and the movie, is the age difference. Not that Lakeith Stanfield and Daniel Kaluuya are particularly old guys, but when he was killed, Fred Hampton was 21 years old, and when he was recruited into the FBI, Bill O'Neill was only 17 years old.
Yeah,
which I think puts a different spin on kind of,
one thing I will say, a movie I'm going to be talking about and what we're watching has the worst use of the after the movie text thing, or sort of during the credits telling you a thing about the thing that you just saw, a thing I've ever seen in my life. But this one was really good. This is already a gut punch at the end, and it's basically like, well, in case you're harboring any illusions of enjoying your day, here's what happened after this.
Yeah. I also want to get into Jesse Plemons' career choices. So, like, first off, in general, it's hard for me to imagine. I don't know how other people besides me feel about Kirsten Dunst and her like attractiveness or whatever, but for me, she was Mary Jane at a time when that was like a formative thing in my life. She's like always got that like, the girl next door thing for me.
Right.
And for me to imagine that she looks Jesse Plemons in the face every day, it is like, this man is sexy. I love this man. And it's not just like cowering in fear of him. I don't get it.
I thought you were just going to talk about Fargo. They're together in real life?
Yeah, no, they're together in real life.
Good for them.
Yeah. But the other thing is, so like Jesse Plemons has talked before about the fact that like, and a lot of actors I think say this, they have like their own vision of how much ego they don't have. But Jesse Plemons has said repeatedly in interviews before that he doesn't really care if you like him. And most of the time, most actors, if they said that, I don't believe them. Jesse Plemons, I fucking believe you, man. You can stop.
I definitely think, like, watching in this, I was like, that guy's got to want to star in at least one movie where at the beginning of it, you like him, and at the end of it, you like him. Because that doesn't come up a lot for that dude.
It does not. I mean, he's got to be picking these. Maybe that's all he gets typecast in now. I don't know. But whew.
I'm sure typecasting is part of it, but also I just think that guy sees an opportunity to get paid frequently. He's like, I know I can do this.
Yeah, that's fair.
Let me sign up. What do we think about the J. Edgar Hoover interpretation?
I mean, it's fine. I actually don't have any mental images of J. Edgar Hoover. It was hard for me not to see Martin Sheen. I could definitely hear Martin Sheen.
The thing with J. Edgar Hoover, it's kind of like what we were talking about with One Night in Miami. I sort of compared the performances against other performances. I've seen so many fucking people play J. Edgar Hoover at this point. It's hard to even think of what the real guy was like. And this seemed like a pretty general J. Edgar Hoover.
Really, the one other thing that I kept thinking when I watched this movie is how I feel like this same movie could be made, and I don't really know what era it would be in, maybe like late 70s, mid 80s, somewhere around there, about J. Edgar Hoover, where it's about like what a hero he is for taking out all these insurrectionists.
Right.
And like, I don't know, like it's just, there's so much in our history that we'll never know because the bad people who did it never wrote it down.
Right.
But it's just, I could absolutely see how, the perspective on this movie and the way you choose to spin it or the story has a great outcome on what kind of story is told.
I just think what's interesting, maybe to me anyway, does anyone actually have a positive opinion of J. Edgar Hoover? Like, is there a person who actually thinks kindly of that guy? Because he's one person who we all agree, to me, is just a scumbag. And yet, I mean, he's very influential in American history in the 20th century, but does anyone view him in a positive light? I'm just curious more so than anything.
I'm not sure either.
I don't think anyone living does. I think there was probably people from my grandparents' generation who did, but they're mostly all gone. So, I don't, because, I don't think the things that we know about him now really started to trickle down till like the 80s. I don't like when this was happening. I don't think people knew that about J. Edgar Hoover.
Yeah, I don't know, but
interesting.
Yeah. Is there anything else we want to get to on Judas and the Black Messiah?
No, the only thing I'd recommend is, it's on HBOMax. You should watch it.
I think that's it for our HBO Max double feature. What have we been watching this past week, guys? And I know you're going to ask me about WandaVision, Christian. I don't know. Should we do it? We're 2 episodes back now. And how many episodes are there going to be in this season? Do we know? Is it 9?
I think there's 2 more episodes.
There's 2 more episodes.
There's some internet conspiracy theory that there's 9 episodes, but there's no real proof of it.
Okay. So, I'm okay with catching up now, but then maybe we save the last 2 for. We'll see how it goes. But
sounds so. I couldn't quite tell. Does that mean you want to do the?
Yes. Let's do WandaVision.
Okay, so we had the 80s very Wonder Years Full Housey episode, and then the 90s very Malcolm in the Middle show. And this was very much kind of what you wanted, Joseph, which is that we got both timelines.
Yep. This is what I wanted. Yep. It's finally the show that I hoped it would be.
Hush, son. I said this when we were all together when we were hanging out on Saturday, but I feel like this show. I am trying to talk. This show elicits emotions and responses to where you're like, I wish it would really do this. And then the very next episode, it does that thing that you said. I'm going to have to go, guys. This is not working, I don't think.
It's very charming.
I honestly just want you to edit out the child noises so it sounds like Christian is telling you, hush, son.
Yeah.
Because I thought that was, very temp-handed strong.
He's in a much better mood now that he's awake. So I totally lost my train of thought. You guys, what did you think?
Of course, I like this a lot. This show is still going good. This is definitely, I agree, the show I thought it was going to be the whole time, but I'm glad it took that long to get here. I'm more that, it set up the mystery of what was going on, and now we're finding out. I think it's, better payoff, better storytelling. I don't know how soon we want to get into the big reveal of the end of the first of these 2 episodes, but it definitely, I feel like I knew that at some point.
I have a hard time imagining there's people that are still listening to this that haven't started watching WandaVision, so I'm good to go into the spoilers.
Well, I had a feel, for some reason, I think at some point I knew that they were going to use the X-Men Quicksilver in this, but I'd forgotten it, so it really blew my mind.
I don't know. Did we know that? I can't remember.
We knew Evan Peters was in the show.
Oh, okay.
We didn't know that he was playing Quicksilver, but
I guess it's a logical choice.
I think I had just forgotten even that aspect.
Yeah, I had forgotten too.
So yeah, that was a good, solid sit up in the bed moment.
The question I have is, we know he's not like the Quicksilver, he's not Aaron Taylor Johnson, but is he actually even her brother?
Right.
Is the question. You know, like we haven't really gotten into like the power set or whatever, but even for Vision, she required a corpse to reanimate him. And so I'm curious, you know, what that body is and whether the inside of it is actually, you know, whether it's somebody impersonating her brother or she's actually like remanifested her brother from something else.
Well, I think the thing about it I'm happiest about is as soon as I saw it, I was like, okay, we know for sure now this is not where they're going to introduce mutants.
Yeah.
Everyone on the internet can be disappointed. And that always makes me happy.
That actually makes me happy too.
Yeah. Because there's no way they can explain what this is and double down on showing, oh, and from this comes from mutants. It would just be too fucking convoluted. Marvel, by and large, keeps it simple in the movies.
Yeah.
Do you think you still think that after they did in this past weeks where they did the whole rewriting, the being in there is rewriting their DNA?
Oh man, that's a good point. I don't know. There have been a few things in there that make you think that, you know, that maybe we're leading to something, but I think it's rope-a-dopes. Just like few episodes.
I didn't even consider that, Christian. That's actually, I feel like a pretty good backdoor into mutants.
Because my initial impression was when they did Quicksilver, I was like, you know, I thought, okay, is this like, you know, pulling him from a different dimension type of thing? And that those X-Men movies are canon. They're just in a different universe was my initial reaction. And then after watching last week, I'm like, okay, I don't think this is Quicksilver at all. But I did think to myself, maybe that kind of the rope-a-dope thing you're talking about, Jehu, it was initially intended to be that, and it still is going to be that, just not in the way anyone anticipated.
Right. Well, you know, a couple episodes ago, they also mentioned cosmic radiation. So, you know, that would lead one to believe, oh, maybe this is leading towards the Fantastic Four. I think it's all smoke and mirrors. I think it's just to get the internet popping, but I could be wrong.
Fair enough. I am also just generally pleased with how much more horror-y it's gotten.
Right.
That's really doing it for me. So I've enjoyed that aspect of the show. The whole Vision trying to like crawl out of the bubble thing was fucking phenomenal. I really enjoyed that.
It is crazy that it's like it's horror-y for a nigh indestructible robot.
Right. Yeah.
Poor guy's died 3 times.
I know, no kidding. But yeah, I think, is there anything else we want to talk about for WandaVision?
I feel like I've started noticing some of the Easter eggs and spoilers a bit more the farther we've gotten into this. I really enjoyed the Kick-Ass reference since both Aaron Taylor Johnson and Evan Peters are in Kick-Ass.
Right.
And I thought that, while cheesy, I thought the fact that they did the costumes was fun. Even for the boys doing like Wiccan. I thought they were all like, you know, I thought it was a fun nod. Especially because I guess like Joss Whedon told Elizabeth Olsen she'll never wear the comic accurate costume, and like ever since then it's been like her mission to make sure Wanda wore like the helmet. That's it. That's all I got.
Yeah. Christian, do you want to talk about what you've been watching these past 2 weeks as quickly as you can?
Yeah, I mean, I watched stuff that it wasn't a lot of it not worth talking about. The one thing I guess I will talk about was, we've talked a lot on this podcast how none of us are fans of horror. But I do enjoy a good paranormal like documentary, even though they never find evidence of ghosts or Bigfoot or aliens. So I was familiar with the Cecil Hotel. I was familiar with the disappearance of Elisa Lam. So I watched the new Netflix documentary, Crime at the Cecil Hotel, or Crime Scene at the Cecil Hotel, the Elisa Lam story, which is a 4-part documentary about the disappearance of Elisa Lam in 2013 and all the extremely weird crap that happened both in that case and at the Cecil Hotel in downtown Los Angeles. Are you guys familiar with this story?
I'm not, no.
Do you remember? So Elisa Lam was a 21-year-old college student, kind of like on a self-discovery tour. She was from Canada. She comes to Los Angeles. The Cecil Hotel, famous hotel built in like 1910 in downtown LA, was really like, you know, belle of the ball kind of thing until the Great Depression happened. So it only lasted about 15 years before it became like slumlord city. She ends up staying at the hotel. It's in the middle of Skid Row, and she goes missing. And 20 days later, they find her body in the water tank on top of the building.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah.
The only evidence they ever had was a video of her in the elevator where she's acting all bizarre, like she's talking to somebody and nobody's there, and she's making strange movements.
I remember this. Yeah.
Yeah, it caught the internet on fire. It was February of 2013. So the documentary, there is actually Discovery Plus has like a more paranormal version where, are there spirits that interrogated and captivated Elisa Lam. This one's more like she stopped taking her bipolar medicine. She likely was on a bipolar episode. She climbed to the roof and committed suicide. But still pretty interesting.
It still sounds like it'd be interesting. That whole story was very like it was just cryptic enough that you're just like, what the fuck is going on?
Yeah. So like there are really weird. A synchronicity is like a group of coincidences, and there are so many like synchronicities with this story. Like, for example, like 2 weeks after she disappeared, there was a tuberculosis outbreak on Skid Row. The test for tuberculosis is called a Lam Elisa test, and the school she went to is like famously where they study people with tuberculosis. So like it's just all sorts of weird stuff around this. It's the exact same plot as the movie Dark Water. A woman goes in like an abandoned hotel. Some weird shit happens in an elevator. They end up finding a dead body in the water tank on top of the hotel. Like some weird shit.
Yeah.
So if you're into that kind of stuff, check it out. It's better than Transformers. Crime Scene at the Cecil Hotel. It's a 4-hour documentary on Netflix. It's 4 parts, but it's 1 hour.
Yeah. Hurt, what you got?
Man, I'll try to go through it quick, but I actually have a lot more stuff than I usually have.
Oh shit! Okay.
Since my mom was in town, and I have HBO Max and she does not. She's been watching a lot of movies on HBO Max, so I've been watching a lot of movies where there's no like decapitation or boobies. Stuff you watch with your mom. You ever watch a movie that you start off thinking you're going to hate it for one reason, and then you end up hating it for a different reason?
Yes.
Have you guys watched Irresistible?
It sounds familiar. Tell me about it.
It's the Steve Carell political movie.
Yeah, I avoided it. It looked directed by Jon Stewart, right?
It didn't look good.
I assure you, the reason you think it sucks for a long time, and then it sucks for a completely different reason. Like it starts off that it's trying to be this sort of Capra-esque, but from a political world of like a big city guy from a big city coming to a town and not understanding these small town Andy Griffith folks, and and him adjusting to their world, maybe them adjusting a little to his, and they're all learning something. And it seems like it's going to be that thing. And then there's a twist at the end it's basically like, I'm not really making you watch this. I've been making you watch a completely different thing. And it's so unbelievable that I think he really thought it would redeem the first part of the movie, but instead it's just you watch like a bad movie and then another different bad thing at the end.
Oh, that's unfortunate.
And then I guess because he was worried he hadn't nailed it, over the credits, he has a real life expert come on and explain how this thing you saw that is not believable could totally happen. Like it's so bad. And and also like the whole point of the movie ends up being a big dick to sort of super PACs. And Stephen Colbert devoted like months of the Colbert Report to doing a thing on super PACs that was so much better than this. I don't know why he would step to something his buddy had already done better. So definitely worse than Transformers on this. I won't spend much time on this one. I watched Downhill with Julia Louis-Dreyfus and Will Ferrell. Yeah. I really liked it a lot.
Really?
It taps into that part of me that loves the misery of Everybody Loves Raymond, but it's not pretending to be dumb at all. There's parts of it that's not great. There's like a European pansexual woman in it that like seems like she's from a regular Will Ferrell movie.
Yeah.
Like she seems very out of place. But overall, it's a good movie. I liked it a lot. Better than Transformers. 2 more. I'll go through them really quick. For Valentine's Day, Sarah wanted to go see Willy's Wonderland. And that shit's a hoot. Are you guys familiar with what it is?
No.
Is that the Nick Cage one?
It is the Nick Cage movie. The only thing I knew about it going into it is that everybody says it's a ripoff of a video game called Five Nights at Freddy. I'm not familiar with that video game, so I have no clue. But basically, Nicolas Cage is trapped in like a showbiz pizza where the animatronics are possessed and trying to kill them. It is a hoot. I've always said I'm very pro Nicolas Cage. I think he gets a bad rap, and he seems like he has fun in this. And there is a specific thing about his performance in it that I will not spoil. That's just fucking excellent. But, I mean, if you're looking for something that's going to change your life, this isn't it. This is just a dumb, fun movie that kind of teeters the line between being an actual horror movie and a spoof of a horror movie. But I had a lot of fun with it. And finally, last thing, after watching that for Valentine's Day, later in the day, we just kind of accidentally watched 2 Weeks Notice. That's a good romantic comedy, better than Transformers. I don't know if we covered that on our rom-com episode, but it's fun. Both those people are charming. Hugh Grant and Sandra Bullock. Better than Transformers. That's all I got.
Look at you go. That's quite a diverse spread you had there. I mean,
considering I usually have to fight to think of one thing, it's crazy that I had 4 this week.
I'm very impressed. Well, very good. I watched a couple. So, HBO has slowly been accumulating all of the DC streaming services content.
Right.
And so they've put on several of the DC animated universe movies, which I used to really love when they were really good. And they've kind of fallen off for me. But I watched Batman Hush and Wonder Woman Bloodlines.
Right on.
Batman Hush was a lot better than I expected. I've never read a single comic in my life, but I know the Batman Hush story. And I feel like the movie makes some of the things that I think are really stupid about that story less stupid.
Right.
So I was pleasantly surprised by it. But, I watched Wonder Woman Bloodline. So there's 2 Wonder Woman movies. There's Wonder Woman from 2011, 2013, whatever. That's pretty good. But I feel like recent Wonder Woman movies are making me less feminist. Because I used to be like, yeah, Wonder Woman's a great character. There's a lot of things you can do with her. She's got a cool history. She's got cool power. She's real neat. And now I'm like, does Wonder Woman suck? Right. It's real bad. It's fucking terrible. And I like the angle that they seem to be moving towards, which is kind of Wonder Woman like killing him with kindness as an alternative to fighting. Right. Not historically, but at least the last 20 years, Wonder Woman's been kind of one of the more like belligerent members of the Justice League. I think, kind of compensatory to not be too feminine.
Totally. There's been a move to make her a warrior princess.
So I feel like there's this kind of a swing back to be like, oh, she can fight and she can be compassionate. But this story sucks nuts. So please don't watch it. It's real bad. Wonder Woman Bloodlines should be scourged from the earth. And then the last thing I wanted to mention, of course I'm watching a bunch of anime, but the only one I really wanted to re-mention is the Wonder Egg Priority. Fucking rocks. It's so good. There's 6 episodes in, everyone fucking kills it. It's one of those things where I got worried early on that I don't know if this has ever happened to you, but there's too much good shit early on, and I'm like, can they keep this up?
Right.
But so far they can, so I'm super down with it. Wonder Egg Priority, it's great. But I think that's it, unless you guys have anything else.
Well,
even if we did, there's no time.
Yep.
I thought Christian was gone. I was like, either he's muting himself like he's me, or he's gone. But I don't have anything else.
Next week we'll do something. Maybe a best of a year. Maybe who knows? We'll see how it goes. Thanks everybody for listening. If you have any suggestions, you can reach us at realphonies@gmail.com and let us know. You can also follow us on Facebook and Twitter at Real Phonies and on Instagram at Real_Phonies. Thanks to Zach Evans for art and Brian Velasquez for our theme. We'll see you guys later.
Later.